says we're live. It says it up there. This is weird. It goes the wrong way around. It says it up there on my screen anyway. Welcome to the first ever episode of my podcast, Financial Freedom with Alexlouise. I'm beyond excited and a little bit nervous. We've all just been for a nervous week because it's all a bit like, oh, what's going on? Today, I've got a really exciting bunch who are the inspiration, one of my group inspirations for why I do what I do, called Igloo Property. They're in my joint venture program. You guys are my last ever individual group, aren't you? Everyone else has to slum it with other groups now. So we meet live once a month for a workshop at my house. They are building a property portfolio and getting financially free together. And today's episode is about their journey and about what happened. And leading the conversation is going to be my co-host for today, Tanya from Lynchpin, who is an expert in connecting people and businesses. And we've known each other for ages, haven't we, Tanya? In fact, I've known all of you now for years, except Wayne. I've probably known you the least out of everyone. So I think we're gonna dive straight in. Tanya, you've started working with me on my Money Mastermind program. I'm working with you and you're helping me do things like this podcast and getting me out there and all of that world. So I think it'd be really powerful today to have the conversation from your point of view, because you're starting out on the journey and these guys are well on the way to financial freedom. Can you guys feel like it's possible now? There's a whole world in this journey, isn't there, where it's like, is it true? Is she lying to us? Is it just we're never going to get there? I have it that you guys it's a good time to talk because you're like, yes, we can see that it is possible now.
It's in touching distance.
Yes, exactly. So I'm going to hand over to Tanya. Tanya's going to ask us all questions from the perspective of someone coming into it sort of at the beginning, I guess, of you guys' journey. And we're going to talk about Igloo Property, about my Money Mastermind program, what it's like, about life in property. Wayne, you're a rent-to-rent, I'm going to say, expert. And, so you're in terms of my groups, you guys do stuff that's slightly different because you add in rent-to-rent rather than buying. And we're just going to foray. And we've got an hour and a half, and we're just going to see where it goes. So if you're listening, do enjoy. And if you want to send in any questions to us or the guys at Igloo or Tanya, if you find any of it interesting, you can reach all of us on various websites, emails, all the rest of it. So we will make sure, let's just do that now quickly so that we can know where to find everyone. So Tanya, where do we find you if people are hearing you and like, I need to work with this lady?
Okay, well, I am, thank you, Alex, for the introduction. Yes, I'm usually on social media, but my website is lynchpin.wales. Supporting the Cymru, And yes, my handles on Instagram is Tanya Lynchpin. And I think on Twitter, I'm Lynchpin W. But yeah.
Ooh. Cool. And Igloo, best way to contact you guys if we've got a landlord out there who are like, oh my God, they're the solution to all my problems. I need them to look after my property, or, tenants who are like, I want a piece of this housing that you're creating. What's the best way to contact you guys? I'm throwing that spanner in the works. I didn't prep you for this question. Facebook?
Yeah, so we have Igloo Property Limited on Facebook. We try and stay fairly active on there. And also email is just really good, igloopropertyltd@gmail.com.
Brilliant. Awesome.
And also I'd add in as well, we have got a website, igloopropertyltd.co.uk.
Brilliant.
And if a landlord, actually, I'll leave it there. Yeah, I'll leave it there.
No, come on, get a sales pitch out of the way. If there's a landlord listening,
it wasn't necessarily. It wasn't a sales pitch, but I've got a specific email specifically for people that are interested in chatting to us about properties or whatever they've got, which is Igloo Property Ltd. No, info at igloopropertyltd.co.uk.
Cool, awesome. And it's all recorded so people can, they can find us. And the magical world of Google, I'm sure if they Google our names, they will find us. So, and all your information will be on the podcast info and all the rest of it. So, and I'm sure we'll do many more together in the future. So I'm going to hand over to Tanya to take us on this magical mystery tour of what it's like to joint venture.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. And it's a pleasure to be here on your first podcast. And yeah, thank you also for just throwing me in the deep end. I think she gave me about a week's notice to say, oh, by the way, we're co-hosting this podcast. And, you know, sometimes you're planning and talking and you think, yeah. And then you realize what you've committed to. So, yes, I suppose I should start with talking about where I'm at and why I've been so intrigued by people like Alex and the team that are here today, because I don't know about maybe the people in the audience, is that, you know, self-investment on how to build a better future for yourself sometimes can be, I don't know, you know, that guilty feeling of is it for me? And have I got the money to invest? So I've known Alex since, 2006. And she's always been this dynamic character who's gone after everything that she wants to do, and I've got a lot of gumption about, you know, what she does want to do. But saying that, when you are face to face with her, there's no sort of escaping the fact that, you know, she has got a vested interest in you and wants to have a deep conversation about how, you know, you can work with her. Just one of those great best friends that, you know, that you kind of needed, but you don't realize you can have. So I shied away from Alex quite a bit because myself, I coach a lot of people and I help others, and I never thought it would be something for me. So it's over 15 years it's taken me to actually sit down and bite the bullet, because I'm helping her launch her book, doing a bit of PR, and as a return favor, I'm going to be doing the Money Mastermind course. Now, I know a couple of people in Igloo, and it's just a great story. So without me talking endlessly about my journey, let's get into the chat, and let's start with Sarah. You know, how did you find out about Money Mastermind, and particularly, how did you come across Alex?
So I met Alex, probably 3 years ago now.
It's got to be longer than that.
Maybe it's a bit longer than that now. Yeah.
We've had 2 years of lockdown. So.
We have, yeah. It's probably more like 4 or 5 now.
So we were already working together. So Charlie is 4 in July, and we were working together before he was born.
We were in the November. Actually, you told me you were pregnant, I think, the second time I met you.
Oh, there we go. We have a timeline.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember working with you through your pregnancy and being the first person to kind of come into work in the office with you with a teeny tiny baby, which we were holding and working at the same time.
We do have a picture of Charlie 2 weeks old, I think.
Yeah, at the desk, learning the business. Yeah. Yeah, so Alex was a client of mine. I'm a freelance administrator, and we were working together very closely on a weekly basis. And Alex turned around to me one day and said, you know, you would absolutely rock in one of my groups. And I went, scary. Don't think that's me. Scary, sounds too grown up. And she was like, no, you should think about it. So I thought about it, and she nudged me and then kept nudging me. And I was like, go on then, I'll do it. And I'm glad I did.
Quite a lot of people start working with me to shut me up because I'm a bit relentless. Sorry about that.
Yeah, you're like a dog with a bone. A nice dog with a nice bone, but
yeah, and you know, it's a good bone, and you know, we have fun and you don't leave. So I have it that it's all right.
Yeah.
So what was your initial thoughts then, Sarah? And I'll come on to Hazel and Wayne about the same, question. Did you have to go away and think about it a lot? And how did you involve your partner? What was the thought process that you were going through?
I think I've been freelance for a long time now. I left my job after I had my kids and kind of wanted to do something for myself. I knew that was really just the start of doing something for myself. So when I met Alex and started learning about her course and her program, I thought, well, that's just the next bigger step. Put my big girl pants on and do something even bigger than I thought I would ever do. So I thought about it and I thought, yeah, it's exactly what I want to do. I've always wanted to do property. I was watching interior design programs, with my mum growing up, going, oh, that's amazing. How do they make that room look so good? And that's kind of where I come from, like the finesse and the finish, and how you can transform a property into something amazing that people will go, wow, and want to stay there or want to live there. So that's kind of where I get my buzz from, really.
Okay, and Wayne, what about yourself? How did you meet Alex, and what were your thoughts when you were first considering going on the course?
Well, yeah, it's a little interesting story actually. I was already doing property. I've got a background in doing creatively structured property deals, i.e., rent to rent and lease options and other things like that, which are basically just creative ways to structure property deals. So I was selling a property which I'd done a creative deal on, and I just refurbed it, and I just put it on Facebook, and I was connected with Alex but didn't know Alex, and Alex messaged me saying I've got a group who might be interested in buying that property. So I had a couple of people view it, but they were the only ones that actually were actually serious, and they actually ended up buying it. And I was just chatting to them, and I was saying, well, I like certain aspects of property, but there's certain aspects of property that I don't like. Like I'm very good at deals. I'm very good at big picture thinking. I'm terrible at detail. And I'm terrible at paper.
We love you for it, Wade. Don't worry about it, man.
Terrible at compliance. But
give me deals. And he breaks out in a cold sweat.
give me deals to do, and I'm in my element. But give me anything detailed, and I'm having a nervous breakdown. And the other thing what I've recognised about myself as well over my journey is I'm a very, very, very good starter at things. So I love that process of we can achieve this, we can do this, we can do that, and then we get into it and it gets a bit difficult, and I'm like, I don't really like that. And then, so I need people to, because we have another joke that I'm like the hare, because I just want to do I think originally when I got on the thing I said, right, let's do 25 deals this year, in our first year. That's like where my brain goes. So I need people to sort of ground me a little bit as well. So I wanted to work with people, but I also had 2 failed businesses from working with people because I hadn't done due diligence, or I hadn't got anyone to mitigate when it gets difficult or when there's a disagreement. And I thought it would be, if I was going to work with other people, I would want someone to be there to mitigate issues. So I want to work with people, but I also want people to be. I also want to have an overall mitigator of issues. So that's kind of the. Did I answer your question?
I know. It's great that you are going down around your journey, but we will come on to more of the aesthetics and the emotions that go into what it is to be part of a team like Igloo and the challenges ahead. So Hazel, how did you meet Alex, and what was your thought when you first found out about the course?
So Alex and I go way back, probably. I've probably known about as long as you have, Tanya. We met
at least 2006. I think probably because I'd started my own catering business, which is when I started to meet a lot of people, because I'd left chefing and gone into self-employment world and started networking. So
absolutely,
it was, back in the day, 2006.
Yeah, I was just setting up my photography business, and we used to network a lot. And they always say that the Cardiff networking scene is actually kind of quite small, and we kept bumping into each other. We became really good friends, and our lives kind of went like that. We kind of hung out, and we did stuff together, we worked together, and then we went off and did our own projects, and so it went on over the next 10 years. I got married and had babies in kind of 2011, 2012. By that point, Alex was out in, I don't know, the Alps, doing
Switzerland, and then London,
somewhere exotic.
2008. Yeah.
So we lost touch. I was busy having babies and all the rest of it. And then randomly, it was when you were pregnant with Charlie. So when was that? 2017, 2018?
Yeah.
So anyway, I got a call out the blue. Alex says, "Hi, I'm back. I'm in Newport. I'm pregnant and I'm getting married." And I'm like,
which is where Hazel lives, by the way. I didn't just move back to Wales. I was in the
5 minutes
town.
up the road. Yeah, absolutely. She said, "Do you want a coffee?" And I was like, "Are you kidding?" Of course. So we met up for coffee, and we got chatted. Now, for me, property has always been something that I've wanted to do. I read Robert Kiyosaki's Rich Dad Poor Dad when I was probably about 14, and it just changed my thinking to everything in the world. Creating residual income and financial freedom is something that I've always aspired to, and I've always felt that it's just beyond my reach. So Alex was telling me about some of the groups that she was working with, and I was like, "Oh, that sounds amazing!" And I haven't got the money to join in, and I don't have the cash there, and then I was just like, "Oh, it's not for me right now." And my youngest we'd had a couple of challenges with him as a baby, and I was just kind of coming out the other side of that. And then we just kept meeting up, and and then eventually Alex came to me and said, "Right, I've got one last group I'm starting up. I want you to be part of it. And there was no messing. There was no, will you, won't you? It was like, I want you to be part of it. And at that point, I was like, you know what, this is one of those sliding door moments when I can, either say, no, thanks, I can't find the money for it, and go back to doing what I've always done, or I can make something change and take a deep breath, find the money for it from somewhere, figure it out every month and see what happened. And that's the route I took. And I'm massively, massively grateful that I did. They always say you regret the things you don't do, not the things you do. And yeah, I would have regretted not doing this 100%.
Well, that's amazing. That's definitely a feeling to bottle up and share, isn't it? Because I suppose even all of us that are parents as well, to be able to pass on these thoughts and tips and advice,
absolutely,
I think is, it's priceless. So it's interesting then, so that you've all got different reasons why you joined Money Mastermind and how you met Alex at different times in your life. Can you tell me a little bit more about when you all came together? Because originally there was 6 of you, wasn't there?
Yeah.
Do you want to start, Hazel?
Yeah, absolutely. So Alex kind of put us together into this group, and we came together for our first meeting, and that was my first time of meeting Sarah and Wayne and the 3 other guys, as was then. And we spent the first year kind of just working our way through things. And I laugh with Alex. We have laughed about it a lot, in that, I often say that she hoodwinked us into it. I thought I was coming into a property gig, and the first bit was Money Mastermind, and I didn't quite grasp the concept that actually we're here to money, and the fact that there's a lot of, it's not about just creating personal financial freedom. It's about who do you need to become and what do you need to do for yourself to attain that in the first place. And there's so much more than just looking at the money. So, I thought I was coming in to just do property and that was it. And there's so much more involved, and it's comprehensive, and it's epic, and it's made, meeting the other guys has definitely changed my world. Yeah.
I think it's really important as well at this point to really not step over that, because I'm really clear that, you guys were like, sometimes we joke, we're like, let's deal with our lives first, and then if we've got 10 minutes left at the end of the day, we'll sort the property out. And I think it's really important for people listening to get that, and it's why I want to do this podcast and why I want to really share with what my groups go through, because I think there's a lot of stuff online with property people who go, I just did this and follow this strategy and you'll be fine. And that's like the tip of the iceberg compared to like what you guys have overcome, dealt with. Wayne, you like the big picture thinking and like, just wanting it to go faster, and the whole, having Dan and Jonathan and Ben in the group and that dynamic and the people. And like Wayne, you said your journey, you'd had 2 failed businesses, and they failed because of like the falling out in the relationships. And I can't stress that enough, of like what you guys as an accomplishment have overcome to get here, and what everyone sees on the outside. I mean, you guys are, as I have all my groups my favorite for different reasons, and you guys are my favorite because you've kind of done it with not a lot of money, which goes against everything that I say about like, you need money to do property, but you guys have kind of managed it by creating it, not by having it. You also make the properties look beautiful. And the thing is, that's the thing that people see. They don't see all the stuff. They see the tip of the iceberg, which is Igloo Properties just look epic. They're like boutique hotels when they're on Airbnb. The HMOs are just proper pads that people want to live. They're not a 6-month stopgap. People will probably live there for years because it just works as a household. And people see all that on social media and see the beautiful houses, but they have no idea what it takes underneath, the relationships you've built, what you've overcome, how you've slowed yourself down. In the same way that we joke that we slow Wayne down, Wayne's the one that kind of makes us all get on with it. It's that dance between like too fast, too slow. And the other thing is, you guys have all done this as a side hustle. This isn't like you haven't done this full time. You've got full-time lives. Sarah and Hazel, you've got kids. Wayne, you've got shed loads going on with everything you do. And then you've done a property company. This is not glitz and glamour. This is what it really takes to do what you do. And even the whole, it might be good to speak to Wayne, and Wayne, like what it was like when 3 out of the 6 of you left. We had the workshop day, as we call it, whereby, 50% men down, You know, we literally lost half the team.
They literally got up and walked out, and that was that.
I don't think Ben was even at that workshop. He'd already left. He wasn't even there. Ben wasn't even there. He'd already left.
So then, Sarah, tell us about, how you went from 6 to 3.
Yeah, so there was a feeling that things weren't quite working, and everything had slowed down, and it was a bit like pushing custard up a hill, and we were all kind of, getting a bit down about it. And then we had this day where so much happened that was really scary, but also really amazing.
For everybody as well. To be clear, there's no fallout.
Yeah, there's no bad feeling.
There's no bad feeling.
Absolutely. It was all just the right thing happened. We left that day. It was us 3 left. We'd hugged Jonathan, who'd gone back up to Scotland. I mean, he was coming down from Scotland every month.
Scotland every month.
It wasn't a short journey. He physically came down from Scotland once a month on a plane to see us. He left that day. Dan left that day, and we all cried and hugged, and we were like, "Good luck, have a great life. We'll keep in touch." So we kind of left that day with a bit of fear because there was a lot of expertise that had left, but we came together. We've our force now is much stronger because of what we all went through. We can share openly and honestly about stuff when it's not working because there's 3 of us rather than 6. It just all worked a lot better.
And sorry, Hazel, it's just because it's really key for the listener as well to understand this journey, because I think you went through, a course. So there's like chapters and talking about, your future, your plans, your goals, your relationships and all that. So I think because we've jumped right into the fact that this is you now starting as a,
it's a joint venture mastermind rather than money mastermind. Yeah, sure.
So it's, maybe you can also talk individually about going through the motions of the course. And because for me, I'm on chapter 6. No, I'm on chapter 9, but my absolute huge block was chapter 6, looking at my obituary and trying to think where I'd be in my 50s, 60s and 70s, because I'm very much living in the now, after 2 divorces and bankruptcy, nearly homeless. My fear of planning has just been put into some box somewhere. So Alex is having to work very hard for me to go, you can step out now into the fact that, planning and the dream and all that you want to fix on is doable. So I think for those that are tuning in going, I've had bad luck, I've seen the drama, I've tried property, I've lost money. What am I going to do now? How am I going to afford to get onto a course? And just take, I suppose, it's the confidence, isn't it? And the courage to try something new. So are there any sort of, points in any of this journey on the course before you got to starting up Igloo that you can describe, what you went through? Wayne, what about you?
Well, just something in what you were saying, I wanted to speak into a little bit about if people have lost money or done property or any of that kind of thing, because my journey has been very turbulent with property, and every mistake you could have made, I've probably made it. I've had 2 businesses where I haven't really filtered business partners, or first business partner, I get on with both of them still, by the way, but not as business partners. But, all I wanted to do was make money. So I was like, right, let's make some money. Like, first person came along, let's make some money off this person. It's how I had it in my head at the time. And obviously that's not a good mindset. And then also planned a refurb, and everyone will probably laugh at me for this because this is a common theme with me as well. But I planned a refurb and I thought it was going to cost 17 grand, but it actually ended up costing 31 grand because everything went wrong. And these aren't things that you I don't know. I had to sort of learn these lessons on the job a little bit. So I guess coming back to what you were saying, if people have done property and it's not quite worked out, that doesn't mean it'll never work out or this can't work. You've just got to find people and ways, and people like Alex and people that you can work with that can bridge the gaps. Like I understand now that I'm not detail orientated when it comes to doing a refurb, but Sarah and Hazel are both very detailed, so that works. We get refurbs done and it works out. So that's the bit I picked up on what you were saying, what I wanted to sort of speak into a little bit.
I think to add to that as well, Wayne, is the whole people give up too easily. I was on the Rent to Rent Success podcast last week, being interviewed rather than doing the interviewing, and she said, like, what would be your biggest tip to starters? And I said, people give up too easily, you know. And it's like, especially people who are listening to this who have lost money or fail or perceive that they've failed. For me, they're the ones that's like, you've just learned a massive lesson. To not carry on now, that's the waste. Because actually, once you've learned those lessons, like Wayne, when you made all those mistakes that you've made in the past, it makes you as good as you are today. And a lot of people give up too soon. So they go, oh, I've messed that up, I'm no good at money. It's like, you can't avoid, you have to get good at money if you want to survive on this planet. You know, we can talk, about spirituality and all the rest of it. The reality is we're material beings in a material world, and shit costs money. There's no avoiding it. You can't give up on getting good at money, because it's not going away. So I think that's the biggest thing as well, is to get from like Wayne's story, is that you didn't give up, Wayne. You were like, okay, that effed up, I'm going to go again. And your persistence now, look at how it's paying off.
I think some of that, Alex, as well, like what happens as well, I think, in certainly in property education, is it's made out that it's dead easy.
Yeah. And
so I think some people might give up as well, because they think, oh, well, I can't do it because, look, I've had a go and it doesn't work for me. So you can't ever seem to get the information that they seem to have, because it's not that easy.
Yeah, it's not. And I think anyone listening needs to get that. And I think I'm pretty clear when I, speak to people, and especially when I've just finished a Money Mastermind course. So it's now online over 18 weeks. And then there's a workshop day. And the thing that I say on the workshop day to all the people who've done the course, when they're thinking about coming in to do what you guys have done, so it's still the same course, but it's, online rather than workshop every month, I do my level best to put them off. I tell them how hard it is, how difficult it's going to be, what they're going to have to deal with and all of that, so they really get it. And I think you're right, Wayne. I think there's too much, just do this and you'll be a millionaire, just do this. And then people do. They're like, well, they said that that's what would happen and it didn't, so there must be something wrong with me. And then they stop. And it's like, there's nothing wrong with anyone. People look at any of our journeys and go, like, people will look at Igloo, I guarantee you, in the next couple of years and be like, wow, you just came from nowhere. And it's like, hello, you guys have worked in various businesses for decades now. Wayne, you've been doing property for, as long as I have. But what people will see is the overnight success, and they don't stop and ask, okay, well, what's behind that? Why was it successful in that way? It's like people, when I lived in a house in the valleys, would go, oh God, what do you want to live there for? This is people who are not in Wales don't know what I'm talking about. This is like, there's Cardiff and the city centre and all the, nice apartments. And then there's all the outskirts that people would be like, oh, what do you want to live there for? Everyone just thought I was mad. But then when I was 32 going, I never have to work again, everyone was like, wow, how'd you do it? It's like, well, I've been doing it for a decade. But everyone just sees 32 got financially free. I started working when I was 14. So good, good for people to get that.
I think just going back to where Tanya was asking as well about the, picking up on that, Alex, and how Tanya was asking about how the Money Mastermind kind of evolved in the first section of it. I think from our perspective, or certainly from my perspective, it didn't feel like it potentially does for you guys going through it now. I think it's evolved over the last couple of years. Alex was still in the earlier stages of writing the book when we went through it. We did all the same exercises and we worked through it. And for me, the realization that, okay, this is my money, and learning about how I do money was massively important. Learning about my relationship with money and having that self-awareness of, this is where I currently am, this is where I want to get to, and I can put all these things in place, but these are the things that I need to deal with in terms of my relationship with money, my attitude towards money, my perception of money, and things that have gone on in my past, what my parents taught me about money and all of that kind of stuff, that was probably the biggest start of the learning curve, because it's a curve that's still ongoing now, even now. But, it was absolutely massive just to get that initial awareness of, right, this is where we are now. And it doesn't matter where you are now. It doesn't matter how many thousands you have or haven't got. that was irrelevant. It was just the action of, let's level the playing field. Let's see where we are now. Let's understand what you've got, what you haven't got, what you can do with it. And just going through all those processes and all the different exercises and understanding how that attitude to money fitted in with our daily lives as well. That was, for me, a big realization.
Yeah, and I think that's important to mention. I think also the fact that, where Alex is talking now about the effort and the work that you've got to put into it. So on the course, there's homework, isn't there, to do, and to, they all, if you don't really do the exercises, you're not really applying, what's been discussed in the workshop. So was there any time throughout that course that you thought, God, this isn't for me, or my gosh, I'm actually flying, I wish I had more of this earlier on in my life? Can we get to the nitty gritty, Sarah? Where were the wow moments throughout, some of the exercises that you had to do?
I had so many wow moments. I'm like the master of pots. That's what everyone calls me in our group. So I'll explain that in a moment.
There's an anecdote in the book dedicated to Sarah's story.
Yeah. So my thing about money was there's always month left at the end of the money. So like the last week of the month was beans on toast every night. Like it wasn't that bad, but essentially I was like, let's eat what we've got in the house because it's payday on Friday, that kind of thing. And there was money, but there wasn't ever enough. And it got on my nerves. It really frustrated me. I was like, we're not, low earners. We were okay, but it just didn't go as far as I needed it to go. Couldn't stretch it. So going through the exercise with Alex, she taught me how to manage it. I thought I was good with money. I thought I could manage it. But what I actually learned was how it worked to manage it. And as soon as I learned that, it was like magic just started happening. And these wands were just being waved around me. And I could see things growing. I could see pots going, that's for holiday pot. That's for food, and everything was separated and organized, which is something I definitely get on with, is good organization. So I think for me, it was just learning how to do it. And that's the knowledge I didn't have before I started the course. Once I knew how to apply that knowledge into practical, spreadsheets and organization, it just completely worked for me.
And the income didn't change. I mean, I know it then it did go up, but to add in, that was doing that with the money you already had. We didn't just suddenly magically get you more income. It was the money that you had anyway, and you did it differently. And then it was like, I've got loads more money than I realized I had. I think
it's making it what you have work in a way, that works for you. So now my bank accounts, I've got several. There's pots for this, pots for that. Money goes here, money goes there. There's my kids cost me over £200 a month in clubs and things that I absolutely want them to do and support them through that. And now that money's just out there waiting to be paid for, music lessons or swimming or beavers or cubs or whatever it is. It's all there ready. I'm not having that, I've got to find 200 quid. It's just there because I've organised it so that it is there.
Well, this is a key question, I think, for those that are living with girlfriends, boyfriends, husbands, wives, and they've got to, talk about this as a family unit, whereas there's only one of you on the course. How did you find broaching these subjects on, wow, this is going to be a new way of how we're going to manage our personal money? Because I suppose we'll also get to is the difference between the personal finances and then going into the business finances. So how did Sarah, what was your
I think
discussions
we all
like?
joke that we know each other better in a way than our partners know us, and we've shared so much that there's no issues with sharing between us now. There's massive trust and respect between us. So I think, I was kind of head of housekeeping and money anyway in our house. When I met my husband, he had a drawer full of credit card statements that he refused to acknowledge and open. And I was horrified and said, what are you doing? You've got to open these and face it. Come on, and made him do it. So, I've always kind of had that label, and I like to be in control and have kind of decision-making powers over things. But I think he's just seen me go through this process and realised that actually the benefits for our family are massive. It benefits the children, it benefits him. We get to do more of what we want to do rather than less of what we don't want to do. So, it has helped that way.
That's good. What about you, Hazel?
Yeah, so me and my husband do our finances kind of separately, and then we have a family account. So we do it set differently to how Sarah does. And I have found it difficult at times because he's got his own pot of money, which absolutely is obviously entitled to, and I've got my own pot of money, and then we bring it together for the joint stuff. And we've had nights where we sit down and manage the joint stuff. And my husband's fantastic, and he's very kind of, he's IT, so he likes spreadsheets and things like that. But actually getting him to sit down and look at money and say, right, let's do the budget, it's just like it's not necessarily something he wants to deal with. So again, we've been working through the process of going, look, this helps us, this works us. Alex giving us spreadsheets that we can work through together, and it's definitely given us a much more solid foundation to be able to see exactly where we're at, rather than just let's just the joint account is what it is, and we don't have to worry about it. It'll just sort itself out. We've been able to move things around and juggle things, and again, create pots that give us that flexibility to know that if something goes wrong with a car, then we've got a car repairs account that the money's there. We don't have to worry about where we're going to find a random 300 quid that we hadn't expected to pay or whatever. So needs persuasion at times, and there are definitely benefits which he won't deny either. So.
But I suppose it's what I'm picking up from it is that when we go back to relationships and money from this course, is that it's not only talking about money, finance, business in the future, but how you're weaving with your relationships, whether you are single, and we'll come on to it to Wayne, how, because there's a lot of people will be listening that are either coming through divorce, they've not even met their partner yet, and it can be quite a little bit more daunting, isn't it, going out on your own? But I think so I think it's important to talk about the fact that through this course there are a lot of lessons learned, aren't there, about how strong your relationships are, and that it's important that the information is shared and that you come alive with it and enjoy that journey. So Wayne,
I think just to speak to that slightly as well, I think the thing as well is that there's no one way to do money. So everyone figures out, I have a spreadsheet and I get everyone to make it their own. And the thing about being empowered around money is that we never make anyone wrong. So if a partner doesn't want to play, doesn't want to interact, doesn't want to deal with it, doesn't want to talk about it, it's fine, because everyone can be responsible for what they're responsible for in their relationship with money. So I think the thing as well, for anyone going, oh God, my partner would they'd never get on board. It's like, we never, I don't coach people's partners. I coach the guys that are on this call and the people that sign up with me, and their partners. I don't expect them to do anything. They don't have to. They never have to do anything the way I say. And it's about people figuring out how they do it for themselves and how they take responsibility for their part. And often when one of a partnership starts taking responsibility for money, the other one will go, oh, what's going on over there then? How come you've suddenly got more money but you haven't earned anything? So it's important that what I do with people and what the course does and what everyone helps each other do is they support each other in finding their way that it works. There's no, you have to do it this way and that's it. So it doesn't matter where people are at, and it doesn't matter if they're in debt, if they've got a pot, if they don't. I've got clients as young as 18 now, right through to in their 60s. I have a massive range, and everyone's at a different point of their life. The point is, everyone on an individual level gets empowered to do what they need to do. And that's just, magic, because then there's no fallout. There's no bad and wrong. There's no partners that, we're not dragging anyone anywhere. We're going, actually, do you know what? I want to sort out my money. And if you happen to be in a relationship, you work out your responsibility in that relationship and your finances. And, I invite people to leave their partners alone if they don't want to play. It's like, just give them a break. Just go, that's great. There's no wrong way.
I think just to pick up on that as well, I think it's one of the things that it's really taught me is the art of how to communicate about this as well. It isn't just about the money; it's how to communicate to get the kind of to the means to the end in the best possible way. And those levels of communications, I know Alex has really helped me on several different areas in that respect over the years. And I think one of the biggest things that I've learned through all of this is that ultimately we don't know what we don't know. So coming into all of this, like Sarah said, she already thought she was great at money, and I thought I had it under control. And there's so many things that, I didn't know, but I didn't know that I didn't know them. So how could I go about starting to learn them, you know, and being able to work with Alex and have a third angle perspective, it kind of makes you sit back and go, oh, and you realize things, and you develop a self-awareness that really stands you in massively good stead for coping with situations that perhaps you would have dealt with very, very different otherwise.
And have you got any thoughts, Wayne? You know, it's like for those that are, because even to the point of the costs of the course, and I know maybe we'll get to that at the end of the podcast, maybe, but you know, I know what it's like when you're listening to a podcast. They're going, yeah, that's great, and they're all the facts, and everybody's loving it. But what does it cost, you know? And is that a stumbling block when people are like going, oh my goodness, I still want to do this, but you know, what were your thoughts, Wayne, when you started out going, right, I'm going to commit to this course?
Especially, and to add in, like, Wayne, you know, you'd already done a lot of courses, right? You'd already spent a lot of money as well. So there's that too.
There's a couple of things here, really. I mean, I think firstly for me, if I see something I think is a good idea, I'll just do it, and I'll figure out how to make the money, how to get the money. I will caveat that with one of the things I do find difficult, and this is an ongoing learning for me, is to this might sound a bit oppositional in a way, but is to have an abundance mindset. So I do find one of the things I find difficult about seeing it through is that there's a process in which you're putting money in and not taking money out. And in that process, it's very easy to think, like, I'll just go and do some work and not do that because, like, you know, I can just get this money now. And when you sort of need money now, for example, that can be quite alluring. So it's like delaying what you want now to have it later in a way. And then it's sort of, I do find that a little bit challenging, and still do. So, but it's good to be around people that can keep, when that sort of chimp brain comes up and is saying, or what it's saying, you know, like, oh, you know, bloody hell, you got no money, or the appearance of got no money, because obviously I always seem to carry on. But
it's amazing how people find the money for what they really want to do, always. And anyone listening, just have a look. Like, have a look. The stuff you really wanted to do, you found a way.
Yeah, exactly. If you want to do it, like, you know, like, yeah, exactly. If you want to do something, you'll do it. It doesn't occur to you not to do it. In a way. So, but you do have a chimp voice as well. That you know.
Absolutely.
I don't know how much sense I'm making in this, but hopefully I'm making some sort of like sense a little bit.
I think when we're talking about, you know, what you want to spend your money on, that's really what I've learned through the Money Mastermind courses. What do I want to spend my money on? Is it going out and getting, you know, a coffee every day, or is it saving that money and investing it for something that's bigger that will earn me money in the future, you know? And that kind of thing now I look at and go, well, that's an easy decision for me now. Whereas before I didn't have that awareness and that ability to just go, no, I don't need that. That's not aligned with where I'm going or what I want to do. So it's just made that a lot clearer and a lot easier for me to make that choice. And I think the skills that Alex has taught us and the tools Alex has taught us. I mean, yesterday I was on a call saying, you know, first world problems. I want to buy a holiday house with my family. You know, great. That's an amazing thing to be doing. And what a privileged, you know, position I'm in to be able to even think about that. And Alex, I was saying, I just haven't got the budget. You know, what I need isn't there. And Alex was like, just reframe it. Just think about how you can make that money again. And I thought, oh yeah, I just have to go back to the course again, look at the exercises again, go back through, right, what can I side hustle? What can I sell? What can I do to raise that money to get us to where we want to be, rather than concentrate on what I didn't have.
Properties are too expensive.
Yeah, that was my story. And Alex was like, okay, let's reframe that. Let's think about how, you know, another way you can approach that. So, you know, we all need that check-in and that accountability. And that's what I find I get from the calls and, you know, from the coaching.
Well, I think it's been, you know, it's obvious that everybody's have been on the course. And now that you've ended it, as in those lessons, tell us about the beginning of the journey of bringing together Igloo. Hazel, do you want to start about, you know, where did the idea come from, and actually, you know, what type of business it was going to be?
Well, for us, certainly from my perspective, it felt like a very natural progression. We'd been through however many months it was of the Money Mastermind course, and we knew that, we knew we worked well together. We enjoyed what we were doing. We could clearly see the benefits of being able to work with Alex and having that third party kind of input to genuinely try and make us the best people that we could be. So it really seemed like the natural progression. We all wanted to get into property. So it just kind of really started to evolve. I suppose the one overriding feeling from the first year or so, especially when we had the extra guys with us, is it just felt slow. As Sarah said earlier, it felt like we were trying to push custard uphill at times. And Alex kept saying, look, you've got to put the foundations in place. You know, this is normal. This is, you know, we've got to get all this done and this done and this done to be able to get out there and start making things happen and actually start doing some property deals. But it felt like it was kind of, just slow and trying to get all six of us to make a decision, and kind of it was petticoat government. And actually now that we're the three of us, we're much more streamlined. We've got much easier levels, kind of routes to conversation and decision making, and it's really flowing so much better now. But it was, we knew we wanted to do property. We knew for us buying property in the early stages was not going to be something that we had the money to do. We didn't have large amounts to invest each. So we kind of started chatting about options. Obviously, Wayne's got the experience with rent to rent and the lease options and the creative deals. So we started looking down those routes and investigating and kind of trying a few different options and seeing what was the best fit. And I think for us, one of the really big meetings we had was when we kind of said, right, what do we actually want to focus on? What areas of our business do we want to do? And what's our style going to be? What's our values going to be? What are we going to stand for? And what are we not going to stand for? And exactly what do we want to achieve? And once we got that decided, we seemed to just, everything started to fall into place, I think.
So how long, Sarah, how long did this take, you know, from the acorn stage of coming up with this idea, and also Wayne, you know, what were the ins and outs of what it was going to take, who was going to do what, and where your responsibilities lay? So starting with Sarah, what's...
So we registered the business officially in June 2020. And that was when there was still six of us. And then in the January or February, the other three directors resigned. And then I feel like in the March, when we signed our first HMO, that was really the start of the business for me, in terms of the first property was operational. We were dealing with rent coming in, you know, maintenance, finding tenants. So actually the business kind of started to happen around then. But I think we certainly Hazel and I spent a long time building foundations. To go back to what Hazel was saying about foundations, that's something we have worked massively hard on, is getting a really strong foundation for the business. We've got a contingency pot that's there just in case. You know, we've applied for funding for bounce back loans. That's all gone into the business. We've got, you know, a bank account. We've got spreadsheets. We've got systems. We've got a really good accountant. So we've got that structure and system kind of there in place. So we all know where everything is. We can check at any point, right, where's the cash flow? What are we doing? What's it going to be in a year? What's it going to be in 5 years? Yeah, we have access to all that information because we've worked really hard to get a good picture of that and of the business.
For the benefit of the listener, can you explain exactly what Igloo's purpose is? Who wants to explain? Oh, silence.
It's
like the elevator pitch. You're on Dragon's Head.
I wasn't sure if so. I'm happy to go with that. I mean, for us, we decided we wanted to provide great quality accommodation in two specific areas. One is the holiday let market through Airbnb predominantly, although we're kind of looking into a variety of other platforms now. And the second is HMOs. So we wanted to provide great quality accommodation to working professionals who want somewhere to live but don't want to necessarily slum it like students anymore. And it's the quality that is the really important aspect for us. Just having that simplicity of knowledge now, we can look at deals and go, right, does this fit with what we want? Does this fit with what our intention is? And if it doesn't, then we know we can just move on to the next deal and keep looking until we find the right ones.
So Wayne, I think as you're the deal breaker maker, you're out there fishing for the next property. What's on your radar and how are you going out day by day? What your thought process is, basically.
Yeah, cool. Am I right to answer the previous question first?
Yes, of course.
Did I not get it right?
Well, there's some things I actually wanted to. I don't want to steer off the track. There's some things I wanted to just share first, what were in my mind about when we went from the 6 to the 3 and how that process worked. Because a few things that I think really helped with that were what I felt when we were in 6 is I was bringing deals, and there wasn't really a level at that time of trust in what I was bringing. And what was happening was I'd bring a deal. It would take about 4 weeks to decide if we were going to do it or not do it, and then by then you'd lose the deal because obviously you can't just keep people waiting for months and months and months. But what I feel about it now is that there's like a level of, as the deal sourcer especially, there's like a level of trust now. It's almost like if I say it's a good deal, generally speaking, there's that level of trust that it's probably a good deal. Like that doesn't mean that Sarah and Hazel won't check the deal, but there's already so we can make a decision much quicker. And for me as the deal sourcer, it's much easier just to be going out and looking at deals, knowing that there's already that level of trust. That do you see what I mean? So I'm not having to I just wanted to speak about that because I just felt that was a really important thing. I think the reason it probably does take a bit of time at the beginning is because you have to build the relationships with each other and understand each other and understand how each other works and what each other's role is. And then you can sort of, once all that's defined, it's quite easy to just progress quick because everyone knows what they're doing. Everyone's got their defined roles. We all decided what we were aiming at. So I know what I'm looking for. And then that sort of leads into your second question then, which is so now when I'm out looking, I already have a blueprint of what I'm looking for. I'm looking for properties in nice areas that we know are going to rent well on Airbnb, and then we're making them a high standard. And I think where our ethos lies, everything that I see is about people. And so if you're with our Airbnbs now, for example, with our design is getting bolder and bolder because it's we want to create experiences for people. And when you go on holiday or stay at a place, where you're staying, it can be like an experience if someone's put thought into it. And similar with our HMOs, it's when I take a new person, I'm very conscious that they are a person that will fit with the house and that they'll get on, and that how I see it is I want to create a house of people that love living in the house, that want to socialize. Because I've lived in house shares where the very first house share I lived in, and nobody spoke to anybody because not because anyone was not nice people, but the balance didn't work. So you'd have I don't know, a 65-year-old retired person living with a 20-year-old student. It just doesn't, for a social house and for a nice space, that's not what I would want to create, if you see what I mean.
And that's aesthetics and the personality and the character of both the people and the house. But I think it's important to go back also to the fact to explain, because I don't think the listener may have picked up on the fact that the deals that you're doing rent to rent, so for instance, I remember a story where there's a guy that owns a property in Cardiff. He lives in France. He can't manage the property, so you have taken that responsibility off him. He's getting his guaranteed rent, and then you look after the property, do it up, and the difference you make then goes back into your pot. Can you explain that better?
Yeah. So there's 3 sisters actually, and but the main sort of, I think, freeholder of the property, as I understand it, which could not exactly be right, but anyway, there's 3 sisters. They own a property. And they had a tenant in there, and none of them are able to really do anything to do with the property. No one lives near it. No one really wants to manage it. If you put it with an agent, agents don't always look after it the way you would want it to be looked after. There's problems with voids, you get problems, all the stuff. And so they were sort of at this point, and the property needed a bit of work as well. And I didn't really want to spend or have the means to do all of the work. So they've basically got a property that needs a bit of work. It's just becoming empty. Not really sure what to do with it. Don't really want the hassle of it. And so they're unsure. So what we come in and do is so I'll have a look at the property and I'll make a list of all the work that needs doing. I'll provide a quote for that with one of our builders. And then what I'll do is I'll make them an offer, which would be for us to, the offer includes basically us managing it, us maintaining it, and it also means that they have a long-term contract, which means they've got no issues with getting any voids. There's no issues with no paying tenants because obviously we effectively are the tenant. And we will manage, and sometimes, depending on if they'll give us a favourable rent, contribute to the refurb as well. So if someone hasn't got the money to do a refurb, we will actually contribute some money to fixing up their property. Obviously, we would want something back in the rent for that, but effectively they can just say, Igloo have the property, and we'll just make it mint, and then what we then do is we then rent it on Airbnb, or if we did the same model, we would then rent it out as a HMO.
Genius.
We make our money with the what we get on top of what we pay.
I think the key thing just to add in there is that what these guys do and what I do when I do property deals and my husband does when he does property deals is that we're all problem solvers, and everyone's got to find their problem that they want to solve. And these guys are really clear that they want to deal with holiday lets and professional HMO, so house multiple occupancy. For those listening who's going, what's an HMO? They keep banging on that. It's basically a shared house. You guys are really clear about the area in that. And I have another group who are really clear that they are working in the area of emergency housing, and that solves a different problem. And what everyone's getting paid for is solving problems. And the people that live in France or that, have a high paying job and they don't want to deal with the hassle, their problem's being solved. Igloo's solving that problem, so they're getting paid and everyone's winning. And I think the key is that when property works and when people do property in a way that is congruent with what they believe in, everyone wins. The tenants win, the landlords win, Igloo wins, the whole world wins. There's no losers in the deal. And I think that's the other thing to be really clear about, is that when Wayne sets up a deal, everyone wins. When I set up a deal, everyone wins. And there's the more clear I get, the more clear my groups get on what they want to do in the world, the more everyone wins. Because you guys are clear. You're like, I don't want to touch emergency housing. I don't want to deal with that, the level of maintenance, that sector, the mental health issues, yada, yada, yada. It's a very specialist area. And Airbnb is a really specialist area. You've got to be passionate about making things beautiful. And if you're just not, it's why, emergency housing and Airbnb, people don't often do both. It's like you do one or the other and you specialize in what you do. And you can't figure that out until you've gone through the foundation. So, we've spoken a lot today about like that building the foundation, and it feels like a long time. I'm really clear that people have to do that. Most people, it's I think Hazel, the term you used was hoodwinked. It's like I was hoodwinked into this money mastermind stuff. It's like, yeah, because what everyone wants to do is the property, but what everyone needs to do is sort their money out. And what I do is I go, that's fine, you can do the property with me, and you need to sort your money out first, and this is how I'm going to do it. And I won't deal with a joint venture group unless they're pre-existing and they came to me and said, we're in breakdown and we're joint venturing and we're falling out and we need facilitating. I might deal with that on a one-to-one coaching level, but I will not take strangers, put them together and go, let's set up a limited company. I want to see them go through 4 or 5 months now, the Money Mastermind program is. I want to see them go through 5 months of dealing with their money together and sharing and learning and knowing each other and trusting each other before they even consider setting up a limited company. And it's that makes the difference. Is all of this stuff we're talking about. It's like you can't skip that step. And a lot of the property failures that we see out there is because they skip this step. Wayne, you said earlier on, you had a partner and you just wanted to make the money. So you didn't deal with who each of you were and how it was going to work in a breakdown. You didn't have anything. You didn't have a shareholders agreement in place. Is that right?
No, we had a partnership agreement.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's that these guys know that if there's a breakdown, if they have to rely on the shareholders agreement we create at the beginning, like everyone's failed. We've gone through every form of facilitation, talking, all of that. And because we've gone through all of that, the irony is we don't need it. We don't fail because we all trust each other. We know each other. We can all be really straight with each other. All of it. We've done so much work individually. And again, I kind of joke about this, but I also mean it too. If you think you don't have to deal with your childhood and everything that's ever happened to you to become successful, I'm the sign that says, sorry, honey, that's not true. Like, you have to do that stuff. And doing that work can be really confronting. And these guys, you've all done that stuff. You've all understood your triggers and what upsets you and what offends you and why it did, and done all of that deeper work, which means you don't fall out. So it's, and that's basically what you guys are talking about here.
Yeah, I think so, Alex. I think what we learned with you individually, we've applied to the business as well. So we're using those same techniques of managing money and, structure within the business. So I think that's a massive, massive thing we've all brought in, really.
And I think it's going through the process of exploring all the different options. There was a time when we actually looked at a couple of emergency housing deals, and we looked at a couple of student lets and single lets, and we went through all the process of, could this work, and it's you've got to go through the elimination process to know, actually, no, this doesn't fit with our values, this doesn't fit with what we want as a company. And until you've been through that, you can't come out the other side stronger. And
absolutely,
that's where
and we know now location is key, isn't it, for us with Airbnbs. If we don't want to go and stay in them ourselves, why would someone, booking our Airbnb want to go and stay there? So this weekend, we've just taken on a property in the Mumbles. Hazel and Wayne are going down tomorrow to finish the property and get it dressed, get pictures up, make it look, absolutely fantastic. And I'm going down with my family on the weekend to test drive it and to walk to all the cafes so I can write the description, the Airbnb description, and say, well, we've tried this cafe and it's absolutely brilliant. And the people opposite in Boo's Kitchen will look after you because we've got a deal with them, or, their food is fantastic. So it's that we're always going for that personal touch, that little bit more that shows we really care about our guests and our tenants. And, it's all done with the best intentions. And it's a joy, actually. It's easy. Like, it is hard work, but what we actually do feels easy, and it doesn't feel like work most of the time to me. Hazel and I were still texting at 10:30 last night about the builder and about cushions and about whatever, but it's like,
you guys and your cushions, man, they're so excited about interior design. I'm like, me and Wayne were just like, really? Come on. And they're like, yeah, it's so exciting.
We can have a good half an hour discussion about colours and cushions, and we love it.
Actually, just to come in there, I love the interior design bit, Alex. I actually like that. What's interesting about Airbnb and why I think it suits all of us really well is that we all love making the properties look amazing. Like, we've all got a passion for how can we make this feel like home? How can we make this amazing? How can we make it an experience where the guests will like it more than anywhere else? And then so every property is getting better because we think, we could do that now. And we never thought about that. And actually, this would go better here. And we're all really invested in that experience.
You care. Yeah, you absolutely care. And that's the difference. I've stayed in many Airbnbs. I'm just like, really? This is basic stuff, but there's no hooks in the bathroom to hang your towel while you're having a shower. Or there's nowhere, the one that when we went on a co-working weekend, the one in the Mumbles, funnily enough, and there was nowhere to hang the coats and stuff when we went in. It was like that detail of just stay in your own place. And, so anyone listening to this who's actually doing it, it's like, if you haven't stayed in your own place, you're missing a trick, because you'll realize all those things. Kitchens with no sharp knives, or I think there was no chopping board in that one. I mean, I remember sending the guy a list saying he's either going to love us or hate us. He's either going to be like, wow, this is amazing, I'm just going to put all that stuff in, or he's going to think, oh God, who are these anal people who just whinging about everything? But it's like that attention to detail is what makes you guys so successful ultimately, because you get the great reviews and people love staying in your places.
We get feedback like, your kitchen was so well equipped. My thing is there absolutely has to be a teapot and a cafetiere in every house, and there has to be books. 100%. Like, you can't have a house without books, in my opinion. So You know, in my office now where I'm working, I've got a pile of books and games to take down with me at the weekend and knickknacks, you know, bits to put on the shelves to make it feel like home, to give it that extra special thing. So a child can walk in and go, oh, there's a game of Uno, brilliant. Or an adult can go in and go, oh, that book looks amazing. I'm going to sit down and relax with that. It's that other stuff rather than just walking into a house and not feeling anything about it.
Yeah.
Well, sitting here listening to you, you know, one of the things that's, you know, going through the core of everything is, you know, how much joy there is. And I think that's something else that needs to be, you know, echoed to listeners or people thinking about going on this course, is the joy and the happiness and the fun that comes with going on a course like this, and how much friendship and togetherness is happening. So you're not out there alone. You know, that's one of the things I picked up with Alex, is that, you know, she is there as a constant, and you can take or give as much as you need at the time. And it's evident now, even after all these years, that, you know, you're still well connected and working as a, you know, a really solid team. What are your future plans? You know, let's, you know, kind of wrap up and hear about, you know, what does the future hold for Igloo?
Go ahead, Wayne. You're our future planner.
Yeah, go for it. I'll put my seatbelt on now. Buckle up.
Buckle up, girls.
That's probably my area of expertise, isn't it, that one? So, wow, it's actually quite exciting. What's interesting is actually, I think this year we're hitting the momentum part of the business. So whereas the sort of previous has been a little bit slower and built, like we've talked about, building foundations and sort of doing all that stuff, find out what you like and what you don't like and all that. We've done all that, and then like now it feels like we're hitting momentum. So I mean, we've already done two deals this month, and we're just about to agree a third deal, possibly a fourth deal, which I haven't necessarily told the girls about yet.
Oh yes, Wayne does that a lot.
Bombshell.
I have mentioned. But, so basically, by the end of February, we could be on 4 deals that we've done this year. Plus, we've got another one lined up for March, and we want to balance out, because most of what we've got at the minute is Airbnb property. So we are looking to balance that out with some more HMOs. And the other thing that we're looking at the minute is a 29-bedroom hotel. So we've had a few viewings on that now. Our sort of JV investor partner, who's already a friend of mine, it's someone that we've done some of the rent with. So that this is also probably the importance to understand about how long relationships take to build and nurture. You know, I've known him since 2018.
Yeah.
You know, and we've done
well, look how long I've known you guys. It's like, that's the thing that a lot of people miss, isn't it? I'm glad you said that, Wayne. It's like, build the relationships. And even if you're not thinking about coming on the course, like Tanya was saying, like, you know, thinking about coming on the course, enjoying all that. It's like, even if you're not, even if you're just listening to this and you want to take something away from it, you can just like go, how much joy have I got in my life? Who are the people in my life? How long are the relationships going on in my life? And you can start to see what's working and what's not if you start measuring those. So
yeah, we're getting to the point with our landlords where we're working on multiple properties with them now. So the guys in Cardiff, the sisters, one of the sisters has now given us a property in Pontcanna, and we're coming to the end of the refurb on that. And that's come off the back of the work we've done with them and the results they've seen with the flat that we did with them initially.
And that relationship started back in 2006, because Hazel, have you known them that long as well?
Yeah,
we worked together when we were starting out nearly 20 years ago. And so there's this thing as well about, like, really, for everyone listening, don't discount the people already in your lives. I think people forget, they get into business, they go, oh, I've got to go and find customers and clients. It's like, you already know them. You know, we've already said at the beginning of this podcast, like, how long have we all known each other? Wayne, you've just shared about the landlord that you know, the other ones that are coming on. It's like, we've known each other for years. And I think people forget, you know, it's like, people go, where can I find an investor? I'm like, have you asked your mum and dad? And people go, oh, I'm not asking them. It's like, they're your biggest fans. Like your parents and your sisters and your uncles and your aunties, even if, you know, and yes, we have family breakdowns and there's people that you don't get on with and all the rest of it. But actually, the people that really know us and trust us are the ones that will give us all sorts of opportunities. So Wayne, thank you for presencing that. I think it's really important to say. So if you are someone listening to this who you slash and burn and keep, finding new friends. It's like, give it up. Start building some deep and meaningful relationships, because that's when this magic happens.
Well, actually, just to come on a couple of things that you said and Sarah said. So the relationship with the sisters is also the third deal that we're on about potentially, that I mentioned, that's probably going to happen, is also then a contact of theirs.
They recommended us, didn't they?
I recommended, you should speak to such and such. He's got an empty property at the minute. He's got 4 properties, by the way. And then, if we do a good deal there, he might inevitably know someone else that's got, and that's how it works. And it's everything is in the nurturing of the relationships. Like the guy that I'm doing that I've done some rent to rents with, that we might be doing the hotel with. He wouldn't be open to doing a hotel if we hadn't had a 4-year friendship, done some rent to rents. He's seen the work. He likes me. I like him. I like his wife. You know what I mean? Like, I go around there for dinner. It's not like he's not just a business partner. He's a friend. We support his charity sometimes, and it's a relationship. And I think that's sort of how I'm actually learning this myself as well, because I have a tendency to think, right, I'm going to go and get some deals. Let's write to the HMO list. Let's spend all this money on advertising.
We've had that conversation, haven't we? Yeah.
Well, yeah, and that might work to an extent. I mean, I wouldn't discount it completely, because that's where I'm at. Right. However, the relationships are a much better way to move forward. We'll do it all, basically, is probably what I would say. But yeah, so there's the hotel. I mean, we're aiming at about 12 deals this year. Which would be a mixture of that. Well, not aiming at, sorry. We want to do 6 Airbnbs. I might be 10 deals, actually. 6
There's a few in the pipeline.
He's keeping us busy, don't worry.
Yeah.
6 Airbnbs, 3 HMOs, 1 hotel. But I think I've included the hotel to be like a couple of deals, like wrapped up in one. It's, 29 bedrooms is quite a big deal. So that's where we're heading.
And I think just to word that slightly differently for people listening, who, if someone's listening and they've never done a deal, this is the kind of stuff where they then just listen, just go, oh my God, there's just no way, right? And you have to remember, we've spoken about how many years these guys took to get to this point, and all my groups are the same. There's definitely a pattern in that. But the thing that it's not that so much the deals, it's what it buys these guys. And what it does is it means they get financially free. And what financial freedom means is the income's coming in from the business, whether they go to work or not. And there's a bit of this passive income, or you just sit around doing nothing. It's not that, again, to be really real about it, these guys work really freaking hard. And once the deals are done and they're set up, there's a level to which things can be managed. Like my portfolio, I haven't bought anything for a few years in my portfolio. My husband has, and we've done our big extension stuff. I haven't. So my actual portfolio, I don't do a lot of work with it. It's relatively passive. And for people listening, what that means, and like for these guys going into the future, it means they can spend their time doing whatever they want to do. And whilst doing this journey as well, all of you individually have worked on what your dreams are, right? And I think that's important that hasn't sort of been touched on today. While these guys have been building their property portfolios, they've also been building their dream lives. So they don't have the car crash that I had when I was 32, which was, who am I? I've left my catering industry and I have no idea who I am. These guys are already building it. So Sarah, you're already planning your travels with the kids and the family and what you want life to look like. And Hazel, you're building passive income mum and a blog and writing about this journey, but your utility warehouse journey, and helping other people get that it's possible to get financial freedom and have passive income. Wayne, you're doing all your property sourcing, but you just yesterday looked at that massive building in West Wales to build a retreat centre called the Celestine. What's the name of your dream building?
Celestine Earth.
Celestine Earth, bringing people together. So I think it's like what the future holds. Yes, it's the deals, but what the deals create is an amazing blog called Passive Income Mum, where other people get to follow Hazel and see what she's doing. Celestine Earth, which does, bringing people together and community and retreats. Sarah's going on the most amazing holiday adventures with your family, right? And building more like your own stuff with holiday lets and all the rest of it, and writing the Dawnstalkers book.
Yeah,
there's something else I'm missing here, like children's author right here, like being built. And I think it's what the journey makes available when you become what it takes to get financially free, what also opens up is you just get to live your dream life. It's not the money that really makes the difference here. It's what it makes available.
I also wanted to add to that as well. Like, there's just something about just growing into the person you need to be that's more fulfilling than any money will give you. Like, but you have to go for something to become that person. It's like if you don't go for the money, you don't become the person. So it's almost like the money is a means to grow in a way rather than a means to an end. Like, I don't know if that makes sense, but I'm like,
it makes total sense.
I like the fact that my triggers come up sometimes and I have to deal with that, because I can only become the person I need to become to have what I want and be who I want if I deal with what's there and not, so I'm quite sensitive and a lot of my triggers come up all the time, but I feel like I need something to challenge me to be able to have that happen. Otherwise I'd just live a normal life, wouldn't get triggered that much, it'd be dead safe, and there's so much more that you can do with life. So I don't know. I thought that was relevant.
Yeah.
It's almost like there's a level, and then there's this whole other level that you're not even aware of, and then Alex kind of takes your blinkers off and says, "What do you want to do?" I remember when he said that to me, "What do you want to do?" And I was like, "I don't know what this is." And it took a while. It was always around books and about writing and something to do with that. I love reading with my kids. I started going swimming with the Dawnstalkers in Penarth in the mornings. Took Joe, my son, and he said we could write a book about this, and I was like, yeah, we could write a book about this. So now we're writing a book about this, and I still have moments where I go, this is scary, I can't do it, and then I tell everyone and they go, yes you can, you're already doing it, that's amazing. And I tell people and I share, and then I get that, okay, I can do this. I was talking to an illustrator yesterday about it, and she was like, oh, it's amazing, that's great, I love that bit of the story. And I was like, cool, brilliant, this is working. But without that guidance and support and encouragement, I wouldn't have been in that place at all.
Well, most of us have either given up dreaming or tried it and failed, and thought it's not for us, or it's something that, once people get rich, then they can do what they want. And it's like the antidote to that, isn't it? It's like, actually, you can, in building your dream life, you go on the journey that has you have the money that gets you to become who you become. And I think, we just hit on really what it's all about. And again, to use Hazel's hoodwink term, it's like people think they come to work with me on their money and think they come to work with me to get rich. And what they actually end up getting is a dream life. And part of a dream life is, yes, you have financial resources and that's all very nice, but money without happiness is really empty. I know lots of people who are rich and they hate their lives. Like, the money doesn't do it. If you're not living fulfilled in relationships, and you're not happy in your intimate relationship, and you're not doing what everyone, all of us in us have got an intrinsic interest. Like Sarah absolutely loves books. Wayne, you've always loved deals, and then community. And Hazel, you're passionate about passive income to a level which, I'm passionate about passive income, but I'm more passionate about farming. Like, my dream is building my livestock farm. And it's like, it's that makes us feel alive. And I think so many people have given up. They've just gone, that's just not possible for me. I can't, who am I to live a dream life? I've got bills to pay. And it's like, it's so the other way around. Once you go after your dream, the bills just get taken care of. So
I think
that's what the future holds.
Yeah, for me, I'm absolutely clear that there's no way I would be where I am right now with the exciting future we've got ahead of us without Igloo and without working with Alex. I mean, yes, we invest into it every single month, but there's never been a month where I've contemplated leaving or not doing it, because just having that accountability, having, as we touched on before, having the other people around me to work with and keep me going and stop me from quitting and be I show up for them because I promised I would. Alex once said to me, you get out of bed in the morning for other people, not because you want to make money. And that's so true. But just having Alex there as well, we meet regularly face to face on a monthly basis. We meet on a weekly call, and it's not just about properties. As we said, it's about so much more. And having that accountability, having Alex there as a third party coach, she doesn't have any financial interest in our business. Financially, we are the three directors and we are Igloo. Alex is completely kind of
you've done it right.
It's like, it's not as if you've got a financial interest in our business to make it work. You're there to make us work so that the business works, and that's what you're accountable to. But Alex doesn't let us get away with anything. Alex doesn't let us off the hook, and
sorry about that.
and there's times when we hate her for it, but ultimately it works, and it's pushed us all out of our comfort zone into a place where the future's really, really exciting. And there's no way, if it wasn't for this group and if it wasn't for Alex, I genuinely believe I would be no further forward. I'd still be trying to work out what my future holds. I'd still be wondering how to manage my money every month. I'd still be wondering, what am I going to do now that the kids have gone to school, and what do I want for me? But I'm on a path now, and the investment of working with a coach, it's beyond its worth its weight in gold. They always say you are the sum total of the 5 people you associate with the most, and these 3 guys and Alex, and it's huge, absolutely life-changing.
Oh,
for me,
wow. This is
it's a priority for me. Sorry, just to jump in. Our meetings, Friday we have a workshop. I've been through a bit of a rough couple of weeks. I'm doing everything I can to be there in person on Friday. If you look forward in my diary, I've got our Fridays once a month in the diary until December. I know exactly when we're going to meet. That's on a par with a family holiday for me. It's a priority to make sure I show up for these guys and do what I'm expected to do and what I say I'm going to do. And that showing up and being that person is it's a bigger part of me now than it ever was before I did that course.
So to sort of wrap up,
can I just do an and there, Tanya, and then let you wrap, because I want these guys to get what they need to get is how important they are as well. So guess why I show up? Because they show up. I can't not show up anymore. And I think that's when any of us build like a business or a dream or a following or whatever our thing is. Like, you always have a following, whatever you do, even if you think you work alone, there'll be some people that show up because you show up. It's like this business now and what these guys have created, I can't not show up anymore. So again, it's like, it's such a win-win. There's no me just going, oh, I don't feel like going to work today. It's like, how can I not show up to these guys when they're saying what they're saying and they're building what they're building? So it's like, it works both ways. I'm forever in gratitude for everyone that I work with, because it's because of them that I show up, and vice versa. They show up for me and I show up for them, and it just, magic happens. So yeah, sorry, Tanya, interrupting.
No, it's great, and I think this could go on and on, which is the beauty of the podcast. There'll be another episode. But I think for the audience, I think if there was one thing that you could say to them, if they're just sitting there now going, shall I join a money mastermind when it's next launched, what would the one piece of advice be?
And I'll just add in, or get a coach. Like, it doesn't have to be me. Like, find the coach that resonates with you. If you like the stuff I say, fine, come work with me. But if it's not, don't sit there and do nothing. It's like, so guys, when just a little bit of coaching when you're speaking, it's like, what can people do? Not just my course, but just they're just sat there going, oh, what do I do? What do you say to that?
I would just say do something.
Yeah, take that first step.
I know it sounds ridiculous, but like, just do something. Like, take some action, whatever it is. Because like, if you don't do anything, you do. Like, I don't know if I can be any more explicit than that. But I just think like, just you got never sit on the fence. It's when I think about sitting on a fence, I just think. I think of it as a spiky fence, and I think I would never want to sit on the spiky fence. I might have to go one way or the other, but I ain't staying on the fence. Yeah, the fence really hurts my bum. So I see it. So whatever you're gonna do, if you want to go backwards, forward, side, whatever, but just like
move
somewhere is the advice I would give to anyone. Just move in the direction that you think is the best direction that you for now, and see where that takes you.
Don't ever not do it because you can't afford it. Find a way. It will end up being the best and biggest investment of your world, and it will give you access to so much more freedom. I didn't really have the money. There's still months when I go, I haven't got the money, and there's never once that I've contemplated leaving. It's just not an option. Definitely find something that will hold you. Find someone that will hold you accountable on a regular, ongoing basis. Don't just do it once and then stop. It's got to be ongoing, and that makes a massive difference.
Yeah, I would say if you want to do something where you're going to find soulmates, true people, your tribe, these people who've got your back, who whatever happens, they will show up for, then do this course, because I have that in Alex, Hazel and Wayne in like bucket loads. So yeah. Besties.
Lots of love.
Well, there we are. I think Alex, I suppose it's left to you to say when the next courses are and how people can get in contact with you.
Sure, cool, thank you. Well, I guess it depends what the timeline is. So, you know, at recording this, it's the 1st of February 2022, and you might be listening to this in 4 years' time going, oh my God, what have I missed it? So I know I commit to doing a Money Mastermind course every year in September. There will be a waiting list section on my website coming. So Vanessa's literally designing that at the moment. I open the course up, first of all, to people who are already on the course, to their friends and family, and then I start opening it up wider. But ultimately, come to my website, alexlouisethomas.com, reach out to me. There's many ways you can stay in touch. I have a Telegram group, so if you download the app for Telegram and find Financial Freedom with Alex Louise, you can be in the group and start hanging around. You know, some of these guys are on it, other people who have done the course, people who are just kind of interested. But, you know, so if you want to stay connected, but I think the biggest thing is come to my website, join the Telegram group, get in touch. And there will, depending on when you're listening to this podcast, there will either be a waiting list available or the course will be open for sale. We have a certain amount. And if you're listening to this in a few months' time, my book will be available. So if you're like, I need to do something now, buy the book. And if you happen to listen to this and it's on pre-order, there's actually going to be a competition for one person out of everyone that pre-orders will win a free place on the Money Mastermind course. So, you know, there's a whole world there of getting it that way. But the biggest thing is, you know, get in touch. I'm around. You know, I have my email and my phone number is online. Might not get back to people straight away, but I'm contactable. You know, I will always answer everything. I'm a bit Gary Vaynerchuk in that way. I don't miss people out, and I make sure I respond. And if I don't respond, remind me a couple of days later. Maybe I've missed it. You know, be tenacious in getting in touch and coming and join the party. And cost wise, it's £1,000. It might be plus VAT in the near future, but it's not a, you know, in the big scheme of, I think probably we should have mentioned it earlier, because in the big scheme of what I think, Wayne, you've spent considerable more than that on other courses. You know, for a 5-month course, it's £1,000. And the reason I've kept it so low is that we're scaling up with the number of people on it, which also benefits, you know, starting to be put into groups. So if you're on your own going, oh God, you know, but I haven't got people, it's like, that's what the course is for. You'll meet people, you'll be put into a group with 3 or 4 other people, and your whole world will just open up from there. So yeah. And the biggest thing to say to anyone who's still listening 1 hour, 26 minutes and 49 seconds in is like, thank you for your time and your attention and your listening, and in massive gratitude from, I know definitely me, but I'm sure everyone else, for just like giving us your time and listening to what we have to say. And I hope that, you know, even if just one thing that one of us has said has changed something in your life, then we've done our jobs on this podcast to, you know, inspire people to get richer, live happier, and follow their dreams. It's like, you know, life is working. It's a magical world out there. If you choose to seek it out, if you want to focus on the bad, you'll get bad. If you focus on what's magical, you get this, what we've just discussed today. So really, thanks everyone, and thanks Tanya for co-hosting. If anyone's like, oh, what does Tanya do? How can I get some help with all this stuff? Again, Tanya, you know, reach out to Tanya and have her. If you're a landlord listening, Igloo Property will absolutely help take the hassle and the pain away from your landlord journey if you don't want to deal with tenants and you don't want to deal with maintenance and all of that world. So we're here to help. So I hope it's added to your lives if you've been listening. And thanks everyone for your contributions, and thanks Igloo and Tanya for showing up. It's been epic. And thank you for making my first ever podcast probably about as easy as it could have been. I'm like, yes, that was okay. Nobody died. Nothing went wrong. No technical issues. Save me, you know, adding an intro and outro and getting out there to the world. As far as everything I thought a first podcast could be like, oh, it could all go wrong. It was an epic experience for me. So I hope it was for you guys too.
Absolute pleasure. Thanks, Alex.
Brilliant.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks so much, everyone.
Yes.